Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Corin Lightbourne, and I am the Business Development Coordinator for Infrastructure, Technology, Asset Management, and High Net Worth Services at the Bermuda Business Development Agency, which is also known as the BDA. The BDA is an independent public-private partnership, and our focus is on promoting the jurisdiction and encouraging economic development and inward direct investment. Today, we have teamed up with STEP Bermuda and Clt International to present this virtual information session on the Trust and Estate Practitioner designation. Thank you again for joining us today. I will now hand it over to Alex Whitaker, who will introduce today's presenters. Alex?
Wonderful. Thank you, Corin. And yes, good afternoon and welcome everybody to today's session, during which we'll be exploring how one can attain the Trust and Estate Practitioner designation, otherwise known as the TEP, and the variety of routes to STEP membership. I'm Alex Whitaker. I'm a partner at Rawlinson & Hunter, STEP member and current Deputy Chair of STEP Bermuda. And I will be the moderator slash host, if you will, of today's session, which we are delighted to have a wonderful set of presenters. Joining us from Clt International is Victoria Hand and Julian Davies, and they're joining us from the UK. So thank you very much for staying on a little later than perhaps normal to join us. And they'll be navigating us through the routes to STEP membership and the variety of courses available to enable that route to membership. They will be focusing specifically on the STEP certificate and diploma international trust management, but I think there will be a mention of other courses available. We also have Ash Fife, who is the current STEP Bermuda chair. And when he's not doing that, he does a little bit of work for Kerry Olsen within their trust and private wealth team. Ashley will be speaking a little bit to who STEP worldwide are, who STEP, the STEP Bermuda branch, as well as just a very high level summary and an introduction to our trust industry within Bermuda. I'm also excited to have Kika Simons of Lombard ODA and Melissa Macbeth of Appleby Global Services. Kika and Melissa are current students, and they'll be joining us for a brief Q&A session, which we thought might be helpful to just get the students' view on the TEP designation and the International Trust Management course. And of course, big welcome to all our attendees. We have a good mix today of individuals new to the designation and finding out information on the designation sort of from an initial standing. But we also have some who are sort of perhaps one or two exams in, and we also have some very experienced practitioners, perhaps looking to join the STEP membership. So there's a good array of individuals, and hopefully this course, this session will give you a good flavor of where the program is headed and how you can sort of lead your way towards STEP membership. Just looking at the agenda, probably just gone through it mostly, but yeah, we've got a lot to get through. We have slated 60 minutes for this session. It may run over 10-15 minutes. Hopefully you can all stay with us for the full time. But if you can't, we will of course give our contact information and what have you, and we can follow up at a later time. But fingers crossed you can all stay with us for the duration. Just looking through that agenda. So Ashley will cover off the overview of STEP. Give a snapshot of the trust industry, Bermuda trust industry, and then we'll throw it over to Julian and Victoria, who will run us through high level who CLTI are. They are, very briefly, they are the Bermuda STEP Worldwide's training partner for qualifications for the designations. and they'll run us through those areas. And then we'll look towards at the back end of the session how STEP Bermuda supports its students. We'll have a Q&A with current students, and then we'll also look at, from an employer outlook, what benefits can be achieved by having a team with TEP designations. So with that, I will pass over to Ashley, who will lead us off on Introduction to STEP.
Many thanks, Alex. Alex said that I do a little bit of work for Kerry Olsen. That's I just want to make a correction. I do a lot of work with Kerry Olsen. If that got out, that I only do a little bit of work, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Alex, as well, as he said, he's Director Rawlinson Hunter and Deputy Chair. He and his wife, Jinky, also have 2 toddlers running around his place at the moment. And so I'm particularly grateful for all the time that he has spent to make this happen. A project that our colleague Carmen Lindo was also instrumental in driving forward. And I just want to personally also thank Julian and Victoria for making themselves available to tell us more about CLT. I've only got 5 minutes, give or take, and I wanted to supplement the information on the slides by talking about one, STEP's global network and how it benefits its members. 2, where STEP Bermuda fits into that network. And 3, and perhaps most importantly, why you might decide, firstly, to pursue a career in Bermuda's trust industry. And secondly, why you might want to consider doing a CLT program and attain a TEP designation and become a STEP member. The trust and private client industry is a sizable, important and niche part of Bermuda's financial services industry. Internationally, Bermuda has an extremely good reputation as a trust jurisdiction. This is primarily because of the quality of its trusts and related laws, the quality of its judiciary, the quality of its trust and corporate service providers, the stable political and social environment that Bermuda has, and the high standards of compliance that Bermuda has with international initiatives designed to help maintain the integrity of the international financial system. Families from or who have connections with the UK, Europe, US, South America, Asia, Middle East, all around the world, wealthy families from these places establish trusts in Bermuda and appoint Bermuda resident trustees to administer them. There's no shortage of work in Bermuda's trust sector. In no small part, one of the purposes of today's session is to attract people like you to a career in Bermuda's trust sector, because there is a great demand for your services. This demand is set to continue with something like US $30 trillion of wealth. That's more than what Alex earns in a week, transitioning from one generation to the next over the next few years. Compared to other financial service sectors, the trust industry is interesting, in my view. Trust practitioners have the opportunity of administering trust for the benefit of families whose wealth has been generated by well-known entrepreneurs with well-known international businesses, or even famous artists whose paintings adorn art galleries around the world. The trust structures themselves often hold controlling interests in such businesses, or hold such famous paintings, opera houses, well-known commercial buildings and other assets within the trust structure. Such wealthy families often have interesting histories that we can learn from and that otherwise enrich those of us who are involved in the trust industry. Speaking of paintings, I may be painting a very romantic picture of what the Bermuda trust industry looks like. It is also a lot of work, but just persevere with me as I continue to espouse the benefits. Depending on your interest in travel and how far you progress in your career in Bermuda's trust industry, you may have the opportunity, as many of us have, to travel to other jurisdictions, to visit families, their representatives and advisors, or perhaps attend STEP conferences that are organized by, many of which are organized by STEP Global. Such conferences bring the vast network of STEP members together to share knowledge and provide us in Bermuda with the opportunity to promote and bring more business to Bermuda. I'm from Wollongong in Australia. I'd be chuffed if you look it up. But in my career in trust has enabled me to visit places in corners of the globe that I honestly never would have thought I would ever see before embarking on my career. Bermuda has a relatively small, cohesive, and very social trust and STEP community. This has not only facilitated me to do and develop business, but it's great to work in an environment where literally you are among friends. You don't have to have completed a CLT program or to be a TEP to be a part of Bermuda's trust industry. Even though I had a number of years experience as a trust lawyer, I did the diploma in international trust management. And while fortunately, it may not have been as intense and as long as a law degree, I found it extremely accessible, informative, and it filled a number of important gaps in my trust and related knowledge. I'm glad I did it. It can certainly accelerate one's competence and career progression in this industry. As a STEP Bermuda committee member and now as chair, I've had the opportunity to work with the committee organizing a STEP Bermuda conference, hosting regular STEP talks with speakers from Bermuda and abroad, making submissions to the Bermuda government on proposed legislation and guidance, and meeting and working with members of STEP chapters in other jurisdictions, and also providing support to CLT students when they seek it. STEP really does have a tremendous research and other resources that greatly assist its members and the trust sector as a whole. I could go on, but I think Alex will give me a very hard virtual kick in the shins if I take up much more time. So I hope that I've given you some good reasons why you might seriously consider a career in Bermuda's trust industry and or progressing studies through a CLT program with the view of becoming a STEP member and attaining a TEP designation. Many thanks for listening. Now it's back to you, Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you very much, Ash. Extremely good summary, actually. And I just wanted to echo Ashley's comments on what an enjoyable community it's to be part of within both STEP Bermuda and STEP Worldwide. It really does. It's not just a technical resource. It's also a great sort of networking and essentially just an enjoyable group of people to be spending time with and working with. So thank you very much, Ashley. With that, Ashley has very succinctly described the benefits of being part of STEP, and I think Julian and Victoria are going to explain how you can make your way into STEP membership. So over to you, Julian and Victoria.
Okay. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Ashley. Just briefly, I'm Julian Davies. I'm the MD of CLTI. It's my colleague, Victoria.
I'm Victoria. I look after the marketing and student recruitment side for the STEP programmes.
And I just want to say, listening to Ashley talking then, I'm always doing these types of events and speaking to students and speaking to the industry, constantly reminded what a wonderful industry it is to work in, how globally accessible it is, and what a great career you can have in the industry. So thank you, Ashley, for reminding me of that. Really powerful. We're going to talk about Clt International briefly, and more importantly, as Alex said, about the routes into STEP membership, the three main routes in, and also, because we're responsible for the exam route, a bit more detail about the Diploma in International Trust Management that both Ashley and Alex were talking about just now, and there's a couple of current students with STEP talking a bit later as well. So Ashley talked very powerfully about STEP and its worldwide global membership and the benefits of being a TEP. STEP's number one priority is education, educating its members, making sure its members are fully up to date, fully trained, both on entry into the industry, but throughout your career. Make sure you have the right skills and knowledge in order to perform in the office and for your clients is really important. So as well as the education we're going to be talking about, there's a lot of resources. STEP allows to its members, have the STEP Journal, Trust Quarterly Review to keep you up to date with the latest industry trends. And as we just said, lots of conferences, seminars, events on a branch, on a national, on a regional and international level as well. Really important to get involved. That's one of the real benefits about STEP, the network of people and the ability to get involved. Real global industry, I can honestly say I've probably a lot of members have travelled the world with Clt International and STEP education, and it is the premium TEP qualification, is the premium qualification in the industry globally. It's recognised by employers globally. It's recognised by clients. It really is that symbol of quality, that you are fully trained, up to date in your industry, and then the latest knowledge and the latest content, and really important. And more over the last years, we've been dealing with local regulators as well, and the TEP designation recognised by regulators as really premium quality and providing the right service. And as Ashley mentioned, current regulations, current legislation, really important. So it is an absolute premium qualification. As well as the content, STEP has special interest groups around particular areas of practice, and STEP encourages all its members to get involved, both in the conferences and also contributing to events and the journal, but also involved in the special interest groups around philanthropy, digital assets, for example, but perhaps a bit more of those later on. This has been covered, or Ashley, do you want to come back on this? But this has been covered, so just move forward and talk about Clt International.
Yep, thank you, Julian. So Clt International, we are the training provider for the STEP qualifications, and we have been a partner of STEP for a little over 20 years. We began really with the start of one diploma qualification, which was in the UK, and we have now grown to over 40 qualifications within the education suite. We've had over 22,000 students come through all of our qualifications to date. Almost all have moved into a membership of some form within STEP, and the outcome for them, I've watched many people, even through some of these STEP branch committees, begin as a student, move through the qualifications, become an employer advocate, to recruit, to travel the world, and then to eventually sit within the committee. So there are currently 3 routes to membership within STEP. We have the exam route, the essay route, and expertise, and they all aim to target different people of different levels of expertise or experience. The exam route is the primary route that really allows students to come through to acquire credits through the membership framework and eventually move on to full TEP status. We have an essay route, which also makes up 3 essays for those that are perhaps mid-career. The essays make up around 5,000 words, and there are topics that are released around that. and expertise that really looks at people that are around 10 to 15 years experience and are looking to make an application through STEP based on their expertise to date. So just talking through the education framework, the framework really focuses on the exam route, which is the route that CLT International supports. The idea of the framework, which was introduced in 2015, is that all different professions at different levels can acquire credits through the system to achieve the 240 at the end. What we have here is a grid that will show everybody new to STEP or prospective members will begin at entry level. And that may mean you can study an entry-level qualification, you are new to the industry, you're looking at new topics, or perhaps changing career. Those entry-level credits can be gained through qualification or the application of prior experience or prior knowledge. So for example, if you are a qualified accountant, you have a minimum of 1 year's experience within the industry, you can apply for an accreditation of those without having to study and move into the advanced level, and you would become an affiliate of STEP worldwide. The next piece is through the advanced certificates, is that there are a whole range within the education suite, and you can choose 4 advanced certificates to make up a diploma programme and eventually bring you through to STEP membership, having then met the criteria for the practice level and the professional standards awareness. So at the moment, for the diploma level, we do have recommended streams, and this is really based on really what's relevant to you. We have just touching through the diplomas. We go back to the original slide, please, Julian. Here we go. So we have, at the moment, we have recommended streams through. You have the diploma in international trust management. There are different specialist diplomas for different areas of the world. I know that Canada have one, we have one in Ireland, we have some for the UK. What we are moving to, which is the slide that Julian's moved towards, is a more flexible approach with some of those papers, so that there is some flexibility. For example, if somebody would like to match their papers around a different role. So those that are working in trust specifically, we would always have the papers that make up our international programme. For those that perhaps would like to change a paper to focus more on supporting family businesses or cross-border estate planning, that option is there. So it sort of removes the rules around studying papers that perhaps might not be as relevant to the day-to-day activities. So just moving through onto the qualifications, just picking out some of the typical ones for our international audience. So we have a range of certificates here. We have anti-money laundering, we had one in foundations. We have some advanced certificates in cross-border estates, UK tax for international clients, advising the family business and family business governance, and also then around our international trusts area, which is our largest route. We've predominantly seen around 70% of our students come through that qualification globally. We now have a new professional postgraduate diploma, which is just launching. And I'm not sure if you just want to talk a bit about the developments that have came in for our senior practitioners.
Yes, so the STEP Professional Postgraduate Diploma is designed for mid-career senior professionals and practitioners. It equates loosely to the essay route or even the expertise route entry into STEP, but it does it via a qualification. A postgraduate diploma is actually a master's level, whereas the more entry-level STEP diploma in international trust management is final year degree level. So the postgraduate diploma is a master's level qualification, and it's just been relaunched, literally, I think in the last couple of weeks, a restart from a suspension last year due to the pandemic. What this is I suppose 2 things really. Firstly, it's designed to support those who have been in practice for a while, who want to join STEP or are currently STEP members, but perhaps want to take a different route in their career or step forward in their career. So focus on some specialist technical content, for example, around philanthropy, around digital assets, around cross-border estates and transactions, around taxation, around compliance, around family offices and family businesses, for example. But it also contains a number of skill sessions, which sometimes mid-career you'd be thinking, well, actually, I need to perhaps be thinking about leadership, judgment, strategic thinking. So those are included in the curriculum as well for this particular programme, and around commercial development, business development, sales leadership, marketing leadership, etc. So it's really designed for that professional who's looking to take the next step forward, looking to develop within their business or develop a new business line. And some of the graduates we've had from this programme, it's a very select set of graduates actually, within the STEP membership, it's a very exclusive programme, have actually gone on to create new business lines within their firms, been promoted and had leaps in their career afterwards. So just relaunching this, it's been redesigned for a online delivery environment, and it's really important actually to us that we've been able to keep that kind of networking, small group of senior practitioners working together through the programme part of it.
The overarching piece with our courses at the moment, in particular on the postgraduate level, we're talking, if I draw back from Ashley's comments around the transfer of wealth between families, we have people that may be in a family office advisory role or working for a family that are actually looking at next steps. What does the future look like? What do different investments mean? Actually, what different strategic avenues can we take? The programme that we had focused very much on the technical areas of expertise, which is great, and looking at those that are perhaps specialised in one or two or maybe three of those areas. But the development and commercial piece around that is actually how do we use that skill set to build upon that? How do we move the business around? How do we change? How do we restructure? Or how do we look at new opportunities? And we've moved that online, given that the programme was launched initially in 2016. But all of the students we had coming were never from one location. And this draws again back to the international nature of the work that we're doing and the student base. So we had everybody from Australia, from the US, from Asia, from Europe, and that would be across 20 students coming into one intake. So we've made this online and a lot more accessible monthly, so that people that are building their network are actually working together after graduation. So it's a very distinct offering that we have there.
Okay. So as Vicky just mentioned, we just talk through the current framework of credits and entry level and advanced certificates. Those equate to varieties of membership. As Vicky mentioned briefly, there is a slight change to the framework coming later this year. It's called a new Flexible Diploma. And in essence, it's designed to be flexible to reflect that the nature of practice has changed. You might well be working in a firm or a practice area which there is a specific need you have for technical content, or your employer suggests you do a particular technical area in order to complete your STEP diploma. So this is coming later in the year. We really do envisage the vast majority of students continuing to do the diploma or certificate in international trust management, because that is thoroughly designed as the entry point into the profession, and learn those, as Ashley said, learning what you need to know in practice the next week after you've learned about or been to class or done the exam, and that's really important. We'll just talk through some of the slight changes though when this is coming in later. So from the credit framework and doing set routes through, as Victoria mentioned, the international trust management route. This is, I suppose, a bit more like you might study at a university or higher education. There's core areas you have to do, and then some electives. So there's a bit more flexibility in terms of choice. So the core areas you absolutely have to study are private wealth administration governance, and really important, an area of taxation and compliance. And I think anyone working in the industry or in financial services generally will recognise the importance and dominance of compliance and taxation and the global standards which have come in over the last 5 to 10 years. So below each set of the courses, so absolutely fundamental, learning about trust, the creation of trusts and dealing with settlers and trustees and the such like. Taxation compliance, we'll come on to a moment. We've just redesigned the current international syllabus to include a new tax and compliance course. And then those range of electives, which you might well be working in specific areas if you deal a lot with philanthropy or perhaps families or family businesses. There might be a specific area for you do, but we do suggest and we do expect that most students coming through the STEP exam route will still do the typical international trust management program.
I think it's very profession focused. So those that are, the international program is designed for those working in a trust related role. The idea of the flexibility depends on the nature of the role that one's fulfilling. So it may be that actually trust activity is not your primary duty, but there'll be different areas within that. So the flexibility is a positive step for prospective members. So starting with, we'll talk a bit more about the certificate and diploma in international trust management. Now, this qualification has been around really perhaps since the early 2000s, and it was designed as Julian was saying, it was the entry qualification, or at least a qualification for those that are moving or focusing more on trust activity. The qualification is recognised by employers worldwide, and we've actually seen even through recruitment, you know, it's very aspirational for people to be working towards this designation at some point within their career, wherever they are globally. The qualification provides a full route to membership. So at the end, the TEP designation is acquired after those 4 advanced certificates. And it really focuses on the practical side of the role. So from an introduction to the trust concept to looking at companies, the accounting aspects, we have the syllabus changes, but looking at the different roles within working with a trust and marketing trust services. There's a lot more within the syllabus there, but the whole idea is that you are desk ready and you are working with a practitioner in the classroom to look at the different scenarios that may arise as you're moving throughout your career.
And just the last point there, AMBS, just to explain briefly, is University of Manchester Business School. They accredit and validate our courses. They are validation and quality assurance partners. So you know the qualifications are backed by STEP and by a world-class university in the UK as well. So over this, in terms of how you study, how the course is delivered, the certificate course, the entry level, or the 4 advanced certificate courses to make up the diploma, very consistent. They're delivered across 4 months per paper. So if you're doing the whole certificate plus the 4 advanced certificates, it's around about 2 years of part-time study. So it's it is an investment in time and an investment in money, both from individuals and from employers, but it is designed for part-time study. 4 months per paper. There's study guides, so it's very structured what you should be studying each week to make sure you go along. And at the end of the course, there are 4 taught workshop days. And in the classroom, currently it's an online Zoom classroom, and we've moved away from the physical classroom for obvious reasons over the last 12 to 15 months in the pandemic. And the online Zoom classroom will be led by an experienced tutor practitioner who's worked in the industry, who currently works in the industry, and will be able to answer all those questions you might have about the material. What's happened at work last week? You've got a client with a problem, for example, and that kind of discussion is I think, really, really vital when you're started in a new job, a new industry, to understand actually all this technical content, how does it apply? What should I be doing next week when I talk to a client or my supervisor, for example? It is an element of self-study for 4 months, and then the workshop days at the end. So just very, very briefly on the entry-level STEP certificate syllabus. The idea of the certificate syllabus actually, although it's an entry level, is to give you a core overview of each of the individual advanced certificates. So it gives you the principles of an introduction to all of the content you'll be doing when you go for the main diploma programme. And we do find those students who start with the certificate do far better on their diploma level studies because they've had the introduction, the principles of at the certificate stage. So although it's a entry-level qualification, and as Victoria said, there can be exemptions around prior learning, we do find the students who do start with the certificate do much better in the diploma exams because they've done the entry-level content. So it is exactly what you would study in far more depth and breadth on the advanced certificate diploma. So the law trust, use of offshore trust, asset holding companies in the offshore world, offshore corporate services, investment, dissolution of the trust, and trust accounting as well. You would then, when you completed the entry level, go on to the STEP diploma, which is made up of 4 advanced certificates. As you can see, there's a variety of number of modules per advanced certificate, very broadly allocated to the number of weeks over those 4 months. So we do suggest it's roughly around 1 module within the certificate per week, you study over that period, keeps you on track. You do get a study guide when you start. So this is very much kind of flows through how you'd be dealing with a trust, for example. So setting up the trust, then working around the company law and incorporation of companies and asset holding vehicles, administering the trust and accounts of the lifetime of the trust and where you're investing the trust funds, for example. So trust law and practice, company law and practice, trust administration accounts, and trustee investment and financial appraisal. That is a suggested running order going through, but actually we do find that students, you can pick, they are independent, so you can go from one to the other in a particular order which suits you best. This is some of the feedback we've had from students, and maybe the students speaking in a moment will maybe attest to this as well. But the whole point of the course is that it is a practical, professionally taught course relevant to what you're doing, what you need to know to be doing your job properly at work and be valuable to your clients and employer. So this I think is the kind of feedback we really would hope we have from the program. It's been designed for that. So it really does attest to the outcomes of the program. Designed to provide participants with solid understanding. It's applicable in actual trust practice. So it's not a theoretical academic course as such. It really does get to grips with practical aspects of the content.
Yeah, so just talking really around the curriculum updates, which are very much live at the moment. So the papers that we do have trust creation law and practice and company law. Trust creation has moved into trust law, and majority of the content has been updated, but the critical change that we've brought in with this material is there's a lot more live examples and trust templates within the actual resources. So the content has broadly remained. They're still seen as critical pieces for the underlying syllabus. It's the latter two that we've actually done a consultation globally around. And over the last 12 to 18 months, we've been looking at transitioning from the accounting and investments to the new model. Now, just talking around the papers, our Principles of International Taxation, Compliance and Anti-Money Laundering is a brand new paper. This is the one where we have brought some of the anti-money laundering content from a couple of the papers above, brought the modules together, and we have populated this around regulation, compliance services, and the importance of that in every role and activity. The trustee duties, investment and investment review is really a combination. We have condensed the accounting content. We've taken out actually the critical pieces. We know that it is important to understand a set of accounts and how that applies in this world. But the pieces that we had before were perhaps too onerous as the roles are now changing, or at least how the responsibilities are shifting. So what we've done is migrated the syllabus to assess real critical competence. And this is new. The papers are just about to be launched. So we are continuing with the current 4 for people that can carry on, complete that pathway and continue with any transfers or resit applications towards the courses they've been studying, or just to complete that final paper. That's absolutely fine and will continue for the rest of the year, possibly early into 2022. What we are doing is launching these 2 new papers that are effective perhaps within the next 6 weeks, so that people may have done the first 2, they may want to move on to the others and think, actually, this is more relevant for me, or actually this is going to be a much better transition. This is where I'm focused now, and actually it's of more relevance here. Or for those that are looking to start the diploma as a whole, there are, during our journey of consultation, we work with employers. We work with step branch committees, and we did travel and meet with some of the regulatory bodies. And the reality is around this, it's of more relevance, and there's a lot more arriving in the day-to-day role. So people that would have looked at the STEP diploma previously and thought, actually, there's not all areas of the syllabus here that are really relevant for what I'm doing right now. Hopefully, this will bring some of that more to life and be much more of an attractive and relevant offering. So the syllabus for those 2 new papers, it's being finalised and is due for publication in the next couple of weeks. So that is available for download, and we will share that with everyone so that you can really see the modules that are being included within each one and actually how that may apply. The delivery model. So actually when people will join our programme, so Julian's talked about having access to the teaching online. What we have for every course, it's a 4-month distance learning study period. But distance learning brings with it its own concept, and that doesn't mean that you are alone. What you have is CLT International, as we provide the education delivery, the teaching, the materials. We have our own programme managers that are dedicated for any academic queries and access to a tutor. But you also have the STEP community that are local to you and STEP Central. And that's the whole idea of this session, is to actually highlight where some of the resources and the touch points are. But for access to that course, once you enrol onto a chosen course date or a programme, you will have access to all of these materials. You'll have an online platform with an e-learning manual. So you'll be able to go through each of the modules, read the self-assessment questions, look at any digital learning that might be accessible or any videos. You'll also have access to all of the other students that are either local or within your region that are studying for that paper. There is self-assessments throughout, and then there will also be, there's the module outcomes, that what your expectations to walk away from. At the end of that delivery, we will then have 4 days of teaching. And at the moment, they used to be delivered in country around the world, but actually since we've moved online and had a lot more people in the room, there seems to be a lot more lively debates. You have people from different areas, different professions and different regions that are able to bring a bit more scenario planning to the day-to-day activities. So you'll still have a practitioner teaching. Our tutors have been with us for almost the duration of the programme. They're very, very experienced. They also come from different professional backgrounds. And the idea is that they're still working with their own business, that they can talk you through experiences of their own. They're not just academics, they're teaching to technical aspects. And at the end of the teaching, on the 5th day, we have the online assessment. The course fees for each of the papers, we have the certificates, that is at 1575, and the diploma, which is 1625 per paper. Now, those fees do include all of the learning materials, the resources, your attendance at 4 days of teaching and the classroom access, and the assessment and award at the end. So you're probably looking at around 6,000 for the whole completion of the diploma. That's a level 6 programme into TEP. You want to talk through the dates, Julian?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a regular start date, and what we picked out here is the start date applicable to Bermuda and the Caribbean cluster, which was referred to earlier. So the online courses, so the certificate, if you're starting the certificate, there's actually a course starting very, very soon, and we've got a contact details at the end. So please do get in touch if you'd like to start. It's those 4 to 6 hours a week. It's actually really important. We often get asked how much time do I need to dedicate. And mostly we find that if you keep up a regular study set, go through week by week and put in 4 to 6 to 8 hours, you're more than likely not to be successful at the end. Those who can't start tend to kind of leave to the last moment. So we do suggest you kind of do that period, 1 to 2 weeks per module. If you do consistent study all the way through, put those kind of 4 to 6 hours in, Saturday morning, Sunday evening, whatever works, then actually it's a good consistent way to go through the course. If you want to start on the diplomas and you've done the entry level, then there's actually another Diploma 1 course, Trust Law and Practice, starting in July. And again, there with the classes and examinations in November. And similarly for Diplomas 2 and 3, so that's Company Law and Practice and the current Trust Administration and Accounts. That's starting in actually very soon. Diploma 3, the Trustee Duties one, and the Company Law one is starting on the 6th of August. So there's lots of courses coming up very soon to get involved, or if you're partway through your studies, had a bit of a break and want to come back, then actually there's courses coming up. So, go on.
So I was just going to draw upon the point around the 2 weeks per module. I think that what we've seen before, and this has been feedback from the tutors as well, is that the perception can be that the classrooms are designed to actually talk through that content or talk through the course manual and the modules and actually start teaching around trust law or aspects of that. Actually, what we do with the material, those classrooms are used as a revision week. So the tutor will be asking you questions, creating activities, actually drawing upon what did this module teach you? How did that apply last week when you was in the office? What did you think about? So all of these aspects within there, the idea is we go to the classroom, having worked through the materials, and now we're ready to talk about it and bring that to life. So that's what makes it quite challenging when you start to condense down the time and thinking, well, actually, I might just do this a couple of weeks before. It's about planning and allowing yourself to really get the best out of it.
Okay, so the part no one wants to talk about or go through at the end, the assessment, it used to be a 3-hour closed book exam in an exam room, manically writing for 3 hours. It's now an online assessment. So we've taken what was this face-to-face exam, it's now slightly different. It's an online 5-hour exam. It's open book, so you have access to all your materials. It's still MCQs, it's still problem questions. They're not academic essay questions. There's elements there of, this is a client problem, how are you going to answer it? How are you going to advise the client? So that kind of practical aspect of being examined is part of the exam. So it's currently, because it's gone online, a 5-hour exam, open book. That is slightly dangerous because it's very tempting to think, I've got all my books around me, I get all the right answers, but actually it's really important you do the revision and study, because if you're looking things up, you're not writing and answering the questions. So it's currently end of the study period at the workshops, as Victoria said, a 5-hour exam online. You download the questions, you answer them and upload your answer at the end, completely open book.
Just on the point with the exam, just the 3-hour exam, that is the exam duration. I mean, our 5 hours is the extension to allow for the provision of technology and also, adapting to it. We're used to having exams handwritten or working through them at the desk. Doing all of this online, it's become a lot more for us over the last year. So the 5 hours is to allow a 5-hour period for somebody to do that 3-hour exam within that time. So you could take less time to do that. It's just giving you flexibility.
Okay. Pass marks 50%. We do have grades of distinction, merit, etc. We don't talk about 49% or below. Pass marks 50%, and the typical pass rate first attempt is around about 75%, depending on the paper, depending on the cohort, etc. Okay, so just to recap really on the benefits, just coming to the end of the set of slides here. For the individual, career development, starting a career is a really valuable route to STEP membership. It makes you, as Ashley said at the start, really valuable to your practice, to your clients, and is a globally recognised qualification. And for employers, it really does add value to your professional service, to your business. We do see a lot of job adverts going out, as both Alex and Ashley said, around looking for a TEP or someone who's studying for their exams for the TEP. It really does give that benefit to an employer, both in terms of skill set, knowledge, ability to deal with problems, and actually provide advice. Okay. Finally, and just very, very briefly, STEP Employer Partnership Programs. This is moving away from the exams now. Asked very briefly to talk about the STEP Employer Partnership Programme.
Yeah, just to touch on this and actually how it links through. STEP's Employer Partnership Programme is the Society's way of working with the organisations within the industry that actually sponsor employees through the qualifications. They really value and recognise the education piece within STEP and are engaged within driving excellence within the community. So the partnership programme is actually a way of STEP working with the firms to recognise those that do invest in learning and development. They have an accreditation, so they will give you a badge of excellence within the remits for that employer. They'll work with you to look at learning tools, policies. You'll be able to attend their industry events, have influence over content that's out there, and actually engage with other employers. And it really is a mark of excellence. We have firms that may have year on year, we send lots of people through to different areas of STEP learning or STEP conferences or working through STEP CPD. So the benefits to an employer of working with STEP's team here is it does endorse good practice, it gives credibility. It also shows future employees actually what you have to offer as an employer. How do we support people through their development, particularly if they're with us for 5 years? What does that mean? How do we help them? There's lots of free resources, both from an employer and employee base. There is the partnership, the promotional opportunities to expose your brand, and also the recognition amongst the industry.
Okay, thank you. I think that's covered off. So I think Alex, Corinne, Ashley, I think that's completed the education part. I'm putting it slightly over there. Apologies for that.
No, that was absolutely fine. Thank you so much. That was a very good summary and of what are the requirements and the route to STEP membership. Just at this point, it might be worthwhile just taking 1 or 2 questions that we've had in on the Q&A function, specifically for Julian and Victoria. As a chartered accountant, I was a little bit, I was sad to see the accountancy portion being slimmed down in module 3 and moved over to module 4. But I suspect there are a lot of people on this session who are probably breathing a sigh of relief that the accountancy has been slimmed down. Just on that, so we saw the slide which was detailing the change in 3 and 4, diplomas 3 and 4. When is that going to be implemented, and how does that affect perhaps a student that's part way through and may well have even already passed diploma 3 and 4?
So there's lots of transition conversations happening at the moment. So we're considering actually what about people that have completed the international diploma either recently or previously that might want access to that content. And what we are discussing with STEP is actually how we can provide that as a CPD package that might not require an assessment. So I've graduated from the diploma. I would actually like to have those course manuals or to have a look through. So I think where we'll land is that we'll have that by way of a CPD package for people. For those that are partway through that are considering migrating between the papers, there will be a communication out at some point in the summer. But what we'll be saying is actually, you can complete the existing papers for now, carry on with the accounting modules and investments. They're still live, they're still being taught. Or if you want to move across, we can do that also. We can change you from one paper to the next. Where there is transitional detail is if perhaps somebody's struggling with one paper. We do just want people to be aware that some of the modules do exist. So we have not removed accounting altogether. There is still a good proportion of accounting within the material, and the same with the investments. So it will still be there. So it hasn't been removed entirely, but there just may be a different approach or a different slant for people because it's still a critical piece.
And anything they've studied is still valid. They've still got the credits for it. They're not going to lose anything if they're partway through. Students have earned credits and passed exams. That's absolutely fine. A couple of questions have come up here. Can I either take them now, Alex?
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
So yes, the slides will go afterwards. That's fine. Advanced diploma papers, you have to do 4 advanced certificates in order to complete the diploma. And that's very roughly around about two years of part-time study. Question there around STEP login details or resits, please do contact me or Vicky. The details are on the screen at the moment, and we'll be able to make sure that the right person gets in contact with you or your employer there.
On the question around as a chartered accountant, advice for consideration into STEP, it's actually been also another piece that's been there for part of the duration. Actually, how do we attract different professions into the STEP fold and what qualifications are available? We have our core diploma offerings, but ultimately my question would be around, aside from the membership, what would you be looking to gain? So is it through the exam route, or would you be looking, actually, I'm looking at full membership. I've been practicing for a very long time and I'm looking to ultimately membership's the goal here. So which route would you be considering? And also a level of experience I'd be interested to ask.
Super. Thank you very much. We shall now move on to just a little bit about how STEP Bermuda supports, or STEP Bermuda branch supports its students. To the extent that the student wants us to be involved, we do like to actively track the student's progress and the exam scheduling. The reason being is that we given the size of Bermuda and what is a reasonably manageable number of students, we like to be able to give assistance in creating groups of students undertaking certain diplomas. It allows us, if we can group in a certain way, it allows us to put on local seminars and tuition sessions outside of CLT, but almost as a bit of a top up. We utilize local professionals to sort of just give a little bit of assistance where required. So that's one area we like to, we do that. For example, I think it was back in 2019, we ran a session of seminars where we loosely looked to, as a session, it was a program of four seminars, which were loosely tracking the four diplomas, and they were very well received. And it's something that we are looking to do again. So we are active in sort of supplementing the tuition that CLT provide. We are actively engaged with employers, the larger trust providers within Bermuda, larger trust employers within Bermuda. We have points of contact. And we do have a back and forth, and are there to assist. So we are trying to create this touch point between the CLT, between STEP Bermuda, and also the employers, and of course the students. So we're trying to be the link between all the parties. We are looking to have, pandemic and COVID regulations permitting, we are looking to host student events, student networking events. It will be an opportunity for students to get to know who they are and to sort of be able to create their own links and relationships, and whether that turns into study groups or what have you. But we are keen to bring the student body together. And also the student body, linking it also to networking events with the full STEP membership, I think is always helpful. It allows students to network with more experienced practitioners, and I think that's always of really good value to students and future TEPs. We are also here to support the employers. We are, as I said, we do have liaisons with each of the major employers on island, and we do sort of reach out periodically to update with any information, as well as, you know, always, and it goes the other way as well. If those liaisons have questions for us, we can either answer them or put them in touch with the relevant party. And just on the employer side as well, any assistance required within drafting student training agreements, that kind of thing, what the typical sort of student arrangements are that employers offer within Bermuda, we'll be able to give a little bit of insight into that side of things as well, which I think would be helpful on the employer's side. Right, sort of whistling along, I think we'll move on to the student Q&A session. And at this point, I would like to welcome Kika Simons and Melissa Macbeth. Hi.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Kika.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. Kika and Melissa are current students. They're at different stages of the program. Kika is near the beginning, and I'll let her explain where she's up to. Melissa is at the back end. And
I've just finished my diploma.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So sort of both sides of where we're sort of getting to as the course is concerned. And perhaps, Kika, if we could start with you, just a very brief background of your education and career so far, and how that's brought you into the TEP designation and looking to attain that designation.
Sure. So a little bit about my background. I have approximately 10 years experience working in a law firm. So I have 10 years of legal experience in litigation and family. I have obtained my my master's of law in 2018 from the University of Law, Bloomsbury, London. And I qualified and was called to the Bermuda Bar as a qualified lawyer in 2019. So post, my bar call, and throughout the time that I was doing my pupil rotation, I was actually working as a corporate associate. And I did touch on some areas of trust and private client. I practiced corporate for about 2 years prior to joining Lombard as a trust and corporate associate. So I've actually been here for just over a year, and actually completed my STEP certificate, which I received actually this week. And I will be commencing the first diploma. Actually, next month will be my trust exam.
Fantastic, and good luck for that exam.
I'm sure I'll be okay. The trust law, corporate law, I think I've got it.
You should have that covered.
Yeah.
Melissa, I know you're. What? Just a little bit about your background and the work that you do at Appleby, and how that sort of is being helped by your studies.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Melissa Macbeth. I was a graduate from St. Francis Xavier University in Nova Scotia, Canada. I've been in the industry since 2015. Started off at Appleby in the compliance department. I started off in the compliance department as a compliance administrator there. And I soon found myself working with corporate services and the trust services. So since then, I've progressed. I did a small, I've had some time at Butterfield Trust, which is where I started my STEP diploma. And the reason being for starting that was basically, as a compliance professional, it has enabled me to have a broad understanding of the trust industry. And I am then now able to link that, the understanding of the trust obligations whilst meeting regulatory obligations in my day-to-day tasks.
And I think, I find that interesting, that with a compliance background, there's obviously been a huge amount of changes over the years as far as regulatory compliance and transparency and that side of things, which has brought compliance professionals such as yourself into the more of the trust world and more relevant in the trust world, which I assume makes the TEP of great value to you. Kika, just wanted, so far, how has your experience been of the CLT delivery and course structure, and how have you coped so far?
I find that the delivery of the CLT is very similar to law school. It doesn't differ much from what I have experienced. The content, it's very thorough, informative. We receive our modules. It's a good outline. They also provide you with tips on how to study. But after every module, they have assessment questions where you can attempt and you can answer the questions, and then you can compare them to the answers. And then once you complete all your modules, you have an opportunity to do the quizzes that are offered online. And then once you complete all of them, then you can do the mock, which is the mock 3-hour closed book or open book, however you wish to do it. It's your choice. But it's very similar. For me, I'm used to that exam style.
Good. And Melissa, just as someone who's taken all the diploma exams now, how did you find juggling the work, life, and learning balance?
So I found it's very helpful to structure your time in terms of study. Taking this course does require quite a bit of study, but if you're able to structure your day and have a good balance of work life, home life, and study life, this course is actually quite doable. And yes.
Okay, lovely. And sort of final question and same question to both Kika and Melissa. What expectations? So once you've obviously a lot closer, Melissa, for you, once you attain the TEP designation, what benefits are you expecting post qualification? Where do you see the benefits of being a TEP and part of STEM?
The major benefit that I find being a TEP and part of the STEP is, as Ash touched earlier, the global network of students and trust professionals. I was actually able to utilize this in terms of my study, and I definitely foresee opportunities in the future of being able to have a network to be able to bounce ideas or opportunities off of. I believe it's a very valuable thing to have.
And Kika, appreciate you're a little bit further away, but time flies, and
Yes.
you'll soon be TEP.
That's fine.
Same question. I mean, where do you see what do you see the advantages being of part of STEP?
So for me, I'm fairly new to the trust industry. However, I have a legal background. So the advantages for me is that it touches on and complements my law degree. So I feel very competent and well-versed in trust law and corporate law. However, there are elements that I have not been exposed to prior to working at Lombard ODA, such as tax and jurisdiction and AML compliance, investments, things of that nature. So for me, it's going to develop me into a well-rounded, competent, versatile attorney, and it's mainly career advancement. Like, that is my main goal: career advancement and networking, learning from my senior practitioners, and just being just constantly growing in the career.
I think I just wanted to pick up a point there that you mentioned just about the breadth of the topics covered, and Kika, I know you work as a trust associate and corporate, and I'm sure you can attest to the fact one day you're a trust officer, one day you're a lawyer, one day you're an accountant, one day you're an investment manager, and it's that breadth of syllabus that the especially international trust management course provides, that does enable you to flourish in your role. So with that, I'd just like to, I'm conscious of the time, and just want to thank Kika and Melissa. Thank you for giving up a few minutes just to speak with us. And,
Thanks, Alex.
very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Great. Very conscious of time, as I just mentioned. There's just one last section on the agenda. Employer outlook. Just wanted a few minutes just to mention. So in my role as partner at R&H, there is a lot of, we need to bring in staff and trust administrators, corporate administrators, and what have you. And I just wanted to sort of see where, as an employer, how we view individuals with a TEP. I would just like to say, to start with, that there are plenty of extremely competent trust practitioners out there who don't hold the TEP designation. And I by no means want to say that if you don't have a TEP designation, you know, it's going to cause, there's plenty of wonderful practitioners out there. I would, of course, encourage those practitioners to come along and get the TEP designation. But just from an employer's outlook, I think an individual that holds the TEP, and why I encourage individuals within R&H to engage on the course, it's a way of attaining, accelerating their technical expertise in a much quicker time period. It can give knowledge, expertise, and I'm fully aware that there's experience that still needs to be gained, etc. But it's a wonderful way of just speeding up that technical knowledge collation. As I mentioned there, the breadth of the International Trust Management course is also very attractive. It means you've got individuals within your organization that can turn their hand to many different areas. As I mentioned, one day looking at investments, the next day looking at a set of accounts, trust, legal side, corporate. And it just arms your team with individuals. It gives you a team of individuals that can turn their hand to many different areas. And as an employer, that's extremely attractive. Also, from a marketing business development standpoint, it's always wonderful to be able to go out into the marketplace and sort of speak to a team of qualified individuals that if you engage with a firm, that the team that you'll be working with at that firm are qualified, technically superb technically, and it just adds that little bit more marketability to your firm. But also from an individual standpoint, holding the TEP, it gives you that access to be able to go out and engage with different sections of the private client industry, and can be really valuable. So there are just a few points I want to mention just from an employer outlook. Time has gone exceptionally fast, as it always does with these sessions. Perhaps we just end with the key contact information and resources slide, just the final one there. Please do reach out to either myself, you've got my email details there, CLT, or we've got Julian and Victoria's details there. So any more information on how you can engage on to get applications, learn a little bit more about the certificate, the diploma, please do reach out to Julian and Victoria. And just a few useful websites there. Learn a lot more about STEP itself at www.step.org. The Bermuda specific site there, bermuda.step. Just put the CLT website in there. And to learn a little bit more about the private client and trust industry, the BDA website is also got a lot of information. So I do encourage you to reach out to myself, to Julie and Victoria, and visit those websites. And I guess with that, we look forward to hopefully welcoming a lot of students back into the program, and hopefully welcoming some students that might be part way through. And we look forward to working with you and making the Bermuda trust industry even more successful. So with that just leaves me just to thank our presenters once again, Julian, Victoria, Ashley, Kika, and Melissa. Thank you very much for giving up your time and coming to speak with us, and really interesting session. So thank you very much, and to all the attendees, thank you for joining, and we look forward to engaging with you in the future. Thank you.